It's
is definitely worth
almost
a playthrough.
one that now that I'm done with it and know what the game is, that I don't even want people to listen to this. I without playing the game.
It honestly is quite the experience getting sucked into this and playing through it. It's I don't know, I can't describe it. I can't put it into words like how this makes you feel, but it is so good.
There's not many games or movies or TV that often make you look this far inwards. It's interesting.
Yeah,
That's all I gotta say. It's yeah, just lost words at how this game makes you feel by the end.
there is no movie that could deliver this kind of experience for sure. This kind of fear. Hello, welcome to Hazardous Opinions. I'm Eric. There's Andy,
Hello.
and today we are covering the most terrifying game ever, and it's called Soma.
Yes, a very spooky time indeed. Developed and published by Frictional Games, they're a one-stop shop for all horror that you need. They are very big for the Amnesia games, with the upcoming Amnesia Bunker coming out as well. They dropped this game in 2015 for PlayStation and PC, and then later for Xbox in 2017. Yeah, this game is fucking spooky.
Yeah, coming from the same creators of Amnesia, like you can't expect anything different. It is truly terrifying to its core. I mean, it's good pacing overall, I think, because like it's like a classic horror game. Like if you played Dead Space, right?
Yeah,
So like take Dead Space for example. There's a lot of short segments where it's all calm and you're exploring, and then the spookiness ramps up kind of because well, I guess the anxiety ramps up when you go into a new space and it's completely dark, and then something jumps out at you and it completely scares you. Well, like take that, but in this game, there's no jump scares. There's just some the constant anxiety in some parts that are really intense, and it's knowing that you can't really escape this thing and you have to go through it takes a lot of courage, which gives you more anxiety. It's it's it it's truly unlike anything else I've played in that aspect because like I I can't explain it, man. It's
no, I think
so
that's
scary.
spot on. This game is when you suggested this, I've heard the game, I've seen some minor bits of gameplay, and I knew who created it, but I was not expecting to be in for one of the scariest games I think I've ever played. Like I've played through Outlast, Alien Isolation, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, like name any of the big ones, and I don't think I've had segments of fear like this game brings upon. That doesn't mean it's a perfect game. There's definitely a lot of flaws I want to get into, but the spooks that are in this game are pretty fucking hardcore.
Yeah, and with it being so well, yeah, like what you said, I've also played a lot of horror games. Like I played a lot of Resident Evil, I played Dead Space and all that stuff. But I mean, most of those games you have a weapon, and that makes you somewhat more safe. But in this, it's pretty simple. There's not really much for gameplay elements. It's just you can interact with things in your environment. You can like pick stuff up, do like the whole Skyrim pick up and throw or whatever if you want. But like interacting with objects, that's basically what it is. And you can't fight back. You have to sneak past and avoid. And that is honestly the the formula is the secret spice to this game that makes it so terrifying because
Blends of herbs
you
and
have to,
spices.
yeah, you can't just outright avoid your fear. You have to go through it, which gives you just tremendous amounts of anxiety going through it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was my mood just going through this, but it's definitely in the same vein as those other games where you can't fight back, like Outlast, Visage, Layers of Fear, stuff like that. Just something about this just makes you uneasy throughout the whole game. Like there's times where you're not even in danger, but you're fearful because there'll be either background noise of your heart pumping. You just never know what's around that next corner, stuff like that. That just really keeps you on your toes. But this game also does have a pretty big chunk of downtime of exploring typical ish sessions, but it's like scientific. Like you get to listen to some audio logs, you get to explore under the ocean, you get to look at people's rooms and just throw stuff around. And this game adds a lot of extra rooms and a lot of extra paths that are just like for story basis. Like you just can go in there just to look around, and it's not extremely linear like some horror games are.
Mm,
So I dug that the fact that there were some sections that you're just going to explore and it's not even part of the main story.
right. Yeah. No. And I don't think we're going to cover a lot of what you can find throughout this game. I think we'll leave it for you guys to play it and find for yourselves. But there's a lot
Yeah.
of like rich little stories sprinkled out through this that you can kind of pick up just by, observing the environment of what happened, or, picking up audio logs and all that stuff, kind of piecing things together to figure out what happened here. And it's like it makes up to be like cool little side stories, all like adding to you know, the whole story as a whole. I guess you want to say the environment or the whole plot, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. It does it really well too. Usually the points where you're exploring, your anxiety is low. So it's like you still hear noises here and there, and those are things that spook you. But other than that, you like it's kind of calm. It's calming, especially when you get into a nice little puzzle and you could just sit there and relax and do a nice puzzle. The puzzles in this game are actually really fun.
Yeah, I did like the puzzles.
Each one felt really unique, and they actually made sense in a way, even though a lot of them were like a lot of like sci-fi shit that I would never be able to do in real life. But I mean, it's set 100 years in the future. I mean, not even the developers can probably think of a way how the technology works, but you know,
Yeah, and as you said, yeah, it's set in the future. This is a post-apocalyptic game, technically.
yep,
You are
definitely.
in a scientific research base underneath the ocean, very, very deep, and all of humanity on the surface has been wiped out by an asteroid. And so your whole game is pretty much just exploring this underwater ocean base that was the last little bit of humanity, and researching a bit into the ARC project, which was this AI project that kind of focuses the whole narrative of the game.
Yeah, and with that, like most of the story, like the first little bit of it is trying to find a way out until, I mean, I guess you find a new purpose, and then you have to find out about the ARC project, and we're like, well, try to get on the ARC. So you basically your whole journey is for going to find the ARC and launching it into space because Earth is no longer habitable, and yeah, no humans left.
I will go into it more as we go through the story, but yeah, the arc is just inhabited by AI only, so that it gets very interesting.
Yeah,
about
that
what
that's
humanity means.
yeah, that is a big point that we'll get into. I mean, if you don't want any spoilers, I mean, stop listening now because we're gonna it like the whole first 20 minutes sends you in for a whirl on like how things work and like it's yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to consider that spoiler territory, that's fine. I mean, but we're not gonna be really coy about it.
yeah, and I should correct myself. Not AI. They're brain scans of people, so they're basically a digital version of someone, kind of
Yeah,
like Chappie in a
right.
way. If you've seen that movie.
Yeah, there is a there is a dark twist on how the brain scans work and operate, and we'll get into that too. But yeah, I mean, for like general overview stuff, how do you feel?
As I said, the horror is really good in this game. There's some really big glaring issues, sadly, in the game. It's I would consider it indie still. Frictional isn't a like huge developer by any means. So I forgave a lot of the issues, but there's still some glaring ones that definitely weigh on your experience to try and get to the next section.
Yeah, for me, I didn't really experience that many issues. I mean, other than getting lost or feeling like I'm getting lost. But then I realized that a lot of the paths that you take in the open segments aren't really as vast as they seem to be. I feel like the developers made a made it a thing to where like it looks like you could get lost, but you really can't get lost because there's walls, you know, like if you go into a certain direction that's the wrong direction, you're going to hit a wall anyways. As long as you're not going backwards, you're always going to be going forwards. So
Yeah, and I don't know. I have a problem with some of the underwater segments personally. They
yeah.
aren't as vast. I agree with you there as they make it seem, but there's still some tricks they pull later in the game, or like some handy ways they handle the wide ocean that I wish they used earlier in the game.
Oh, okay.
The earlier ocean segments are bad-ish, and then I think they get better near the end. Personally,
Yeah, I don't mean, I don't know. I never really had any issues with the underwater segments. Like as long as you follow the lights, which I figured out pretty early on, you're pretty much able to find wherever you need to go. I don't know
yeah.
how that was for
There's
you.
there's one or two like there's this game doesn't have specific name chapters like Call of Cthulhu, but there's a section, I think it's after Delta, where you have to go out of this one ship and then you get into a sub, and then you have to go out of the sub and go somewhere else. And there's a few sections like that where you go away from the trail of lights. And I was kind of backtracking back and forth. And there's just a couple times throughout the game where I've had to look up a guide. And
Oh,
even inside the ships, I've had a couple of those segments.
right.
And just to quickly point me where to go, and then I would close it. And it kind of detracts from the experience a little bit after you wander a same hall for like the third or fourth time. It's I would have just liked, like a navigational compass or something, or like a quick, hey, I press this button and it does a quick Skyrim clairvoyance line or something like that. At least like point you in the right direction so you can reroute yourself.
I suppose. Yeah, I would like that if that was like an option in the game. But one thing I really liked about this game is that there was like zero hand holding. Like you pretty much had to figure out everything for yourself. And I kind of like that because even when you're talking to Catherine, she doesn't really give you. I mean, she sometimes gives you hints if it's something like really abstract, but most of the time she'll just be like, "Figure it out." And I'm like, "All right,
Yep.
think." And
It's
it was a lot of brain teasing, but it was I don't know. In the end, it ended up being pretty satisfying to do stuff
There
like that.
there were parts where I liked it, and there are parts where I straight up hated it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I would get distracted by something, or something would happen, and I missed a line of dialogue from Catherine, and that line of dialogue was telling me what to do next. And since I missed that line of dialogue, I was basically just like, okay, now I'm just looking around for
Oh,
something to click on, just because I missed a
yeah.
line of dialogue.
Now that
Where
I think about it,
if I had just like a quick like click the select button and you just at least remind me of the task or something, or point me in the general direction, like maybe a Bioshock arrow at the top, it would have just gone a long way to making the experience a little better.
yeah, that that happened to me too sometimes. But usually, if you go back and talk to Catherine, she'll tell you what you need to do. Did you know that?
Sometimes she does, but yeah, I don't know. Then if you left her somewhere, then you have to backtrack all the way to find her and talk to her again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It adds a little bit of realism to it. There's like no anything on the screen at all times. So at one like either you're looking at something you can interact with, and then your cursor will change to a hand of whatever sorts, and that's about it. And I think that just like added more immersion to it. Like it didn't, you don't have a UI of like your health bar and shit and everywhere. So it kind of I don't know. That was something I enjoyed, but I can see how like getting lost or missing a an objective would harm that experience.
It probably sounds like a lot, but it was very few segments in the game, and I think it was mainly in the first half of the game or so. I think the second half of the game is hugely like an amazing part compared to the first half. Like there's a certain point we'll talk about as I got past that I really started just enjoying the game, and I really wanted to see it to the end. Like I enjoyed the intro sequence, and then maybe a chapter or two after that, and then it kind of went downhill, and then it peaked up and continued to peak to the finale for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of the same way, but there was a lot of points in this game where I had this sort of aversion to playing it whenever I thought about playing it because it scared me that much. If I were a braver man, I'd probably have a better experience with this, but it it really scared me. And every time I thought about playing it, I'm like, man, I don't want to play it. It's like a nightmare I can't escape. And if it wasn't for this podcast, I probably wouldn't have finished it because those, like, obviously with any horror game, the more you play it, the more confident you get in it. And I realized that after putting so many hours into this. But like the first 2 hours with some of these encounters, and then some of them were different and I didn't know what to do. And I would just like, I'd pause the game and sit there for a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah, I would actually
But
say it's one of the big pros of the game as well. Is I think every encounter is different. Like
it is.
there's some enemies you'll see a couple times, but each like chapter enemy per se, I think was different
Yeah.
throughout this game, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
all had different tracking features, different like ways of trying to kill you, and fun stuff.
Yeah. There were diverse enemies or monsters throughout this. And that is something to appreciate with that. But yeah, it was way too much anxiety for me. Um, it was an excellent experience. I hope I never experience again, so to
Yeah.
speak.
On a smaller note with the game, the main menu is superb. I don't get to say that much about games. Usually it's pretty, I don't know, pretty standard. There's just something about this main menu that's just sleek. All the options are super easy to go through. They don't fill the game with unnecessary stuff. It's one of the things I do like about indie games. There's not an entire COD menu of options,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
just a very sleek. new game, continue, options. I think was the all that's there.
Yep. Yeah, it's the classic main menu, which is always nice to see.
I always like to see that kind of stuff. And I mentioned Layers of Fear earlier. In comparison to this game, it does have a similar interaction mode where it's kind of like a drag and drop type of interaction, if that sounds accurate.
I don't know what a drag and drop is.
Like like if you were on PC, you'd be clicking and like dragging something and moving it, whereas on
Oh,
Xbox, which I think is what we both played on, you kind of like drag it and pull it, or
yeah.
drag something and move it. Like you hold an item to pick it up, or hold a button to pick it up, and then you like swing open doors, you swing open drawers, or close things. And I really like that interaction system. It's realistic and it's nice and makes you feel more in tune with the environment.
Yeah.
Also, it's fucking scary when you're trying to run away from something and you're like, I gotta press the fucking button. Why is it so small?
Yeah. And with little tutorial in this game, it like when you're walking around in your apartment for the first time in the beginning, it's pretty streamlined. It's like, oh, you could do this. You can pull open. You're like interacting with everything in there. You're just pulling open cupboards and opening drawers and throwing stuff around.
Yeah.
So you get really familiar with it right away. So you're pretty comfortable with it when the time comes where you need to do it, and that's something to like. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. And they have a really good attention to detail in these room designs overall. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of off, like not on your linear path rooms that you can go explore and stuff. And there's all these like side stories throughout the game that are completely optional to you to like go read through people's notes, inspect items, and so I really do like that they don't hold your hand throughout the whole game. But there is also some parts where I would have liked a little bit of hand holding.
Yeah, like a little hint here and there would have been very beneficial. I remember I was running around on that part where you had to get that guy to tell you the cipher code. And for the
Yeah.
life of me, I couldn't find that other chip anywhere. And looking it up, it was inside a box that I wouldn't have opened otherwise. Then
That's
it was
actually
in there.
one of the fun sections where my OCD helped, because it was in there was this room with all those pillars full of all those drives. I literally sat in that room for like 10 minutes pulling every single drive out of those things just because it was satisfying to pull them out. And there was one that actually had a complete drive in it. I was like, "Oh, cool." And I went and plugged that in.
Oh, so you didn't get through that part where like okay, that's interesting because I was told to find the chip somewhere, and I assumed it was in that room because it was a room full of chips. So that's how I was able to like, and I didn't pull every drive out. I pulled out a drive, and then like he's like nothing. So I'm like, all right, I gotta look for the one that's different, and I looked for all the ones, and then grabbed the right
I
one. So it was so that's cool. I didn't know there could be a different experience with that.
I no, I think it was the same chip as yours. I think I either went in there too early, or I, like I mentioned earlier, maybe missed a line of dialogue of what I was supposed to do. Because there was other rooms I didn't explore yet, but I was just chilling in there, pulling all the drives out just because it looked fun. And I
Yeah.
was like, maybe there'll be something in here. And yeah, there ended up being a chip. And I think I was opening all the other boxes for that, the other memory drive or something. I ran around throwing everything off shelves in this game. That's how much I love the interaction system.
Yeah,
I would touch everything I could.
I agree.
It's very good.
There's a lot of tense parts where you can't do that because
Yeah.
there's something out there listening for you. and it's very scary. But yeah,
See, this is
I'm
another part where it's not exactly a con, but I do wish they put more into it. Is the distraction mechanism? I seen before that this game does have distraction, like some enemies are supposed to follow the noise,
yep.
but I would throw items all the time, and maybe it was just certain enemies that didn't, but they wouldn't follow them.
Yeah, I had that. I had some parts where that was the case too, because it was like towards the end of the game with that. It sounded like a lady that was like sitting there and like groaning and sitting in front of the power pack
Yeah,
that I
the
had to
one that
get.
just wouldn't move.
Wouldn't move. So I ended up having to get her attention and like do laps until I was able to grab it and then run away.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
want to rant about that one a bit. Like,
Yeah, that
what
sucked.
the fuck was that section? I was starting to enjoy the game a lot by that point, and then ran into him or her, and then I was like, am I like stupid? Am I missing something? Like, because the only way I could get the person to move was to go right up next to them and then run away.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's exactly what I did too.
and I was like, this is not like what? Because there was no hiding spots in the
Yeah.
room either, so I would just
It's
run until they lost me and then jump around them.
yeah, it seemed like a crude way of switching up the gameplay style of this particular enemy. I don't know if it was like because they were groaning so loud that you had like that was the only way to get their attention or what, because I mean they weren't very fast anyways, so
No, I literally threw objects at them and they didn't
yeah,
even move.
didn't move, nothing. They might like chime in with like go away or something, but like they wouldn't move.
Yeah,
So
and
I
I
don't
would like
know.
jump up and down like across the hall from them, and they wouldn't come after me. I had to get like right up next to them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, that sucked.
this game gave me. I can't remember the game. There was another horror type game that had a similar intro, but also Portal. Either Portal 1 or 2 had this kind of feeling intro where you're Prey. That's what it was. Where you wake up in like your apartment and stuff, and you're just doing some normal stuff before you actually get into the crux of the game. And I really
Yes.
like that. Like you feeling like you have a normal life before you jump into it, and it's pretty neat.
You find out everything was a lie. It's just kind of the same premise. Well, it wasn't a
Yeah,
lie in this game, but yeah, like shit goes south really fast, and like that's where they catch their similarities.
yeah, and I'd like to get into that when we get into the intro. That
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't a lie. There's some theories.
yeah, maybe.
I have a few other cons of the game too.
Okay.
It's with the underwater sections. Can you give me a flashlight earlier in the game, please? And then make it like a little more effective underwater? Like,
Oh,
I did not like how dark it was sometimes. I turned my gamma to the max, and there's still sections where I could not see shit. Because there is some sections where you go off away from the lights, and I don't know, a very minor thing, but either have a higher gamma setting or give me a flashlight earlier in the game. We get one pretty late.
yeah. I mean, you get a flashlight right as soon as you get the super scuba suit. So, and it was the lighting was yeah, it was pretty bad in the first part of the game. It was honestly it was pretty bad for me too. Honestly, after I got the flashlight, I didn't really have that much issues seeing. To be honest, it was still dark, but I was able to pick up enough to figure out where I was going, and I think that was enough. But
There was a certain section, which is probably the worst section of the game, just overall, where you're in the ship underwater as well. So the whole ship is
oh yep,
flooded. And that whole area where you're avoiding the enemy there is very dark. Just very not fun section overall. I didn't like that boss. I didn't like the section, and
yeah,
kind of
that was actually
yeah.
one of the brighter areas of the game because of all the red lights and stuff. I mean, it wasn't completely dark.
Yeah, it wasn't light enough to like know where you're going. And there's a whole bunch of side rooms that I went into.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, one of these is the right room to go to, and it was just pitch black in those. Obviously, I found out later those were the wrong rooms, but
Yeah.
a lot of wandering around in the dark because I closed the door, and so I couldn't find my way out.
Oh wow.
So
Have
I kind
you
of got
messed with your TV settings at all? Because like I really didn't have any of these issues that you're talking about.
yeah. I turned my gamma all the way up. I sometimes even played with like lights on in my room, and I don't know. Just some sections are just very dark.
Okay. How far are you from your screen?
I don't know about the standard.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess I didn't really have that many issues with the lighting. It was dark, but I think that's what added to it. If it was any brighter, I don't know if it would maybe it'd make it better. I don't know, but I feel like the darkness added to the intensity. So, I mean, that I enjoyed that, but I don't know.
Yeah, so this one's a miscellaneous one. Not really a con either. But for some reason, there's an inventory button, and I'm like, okay, maybe we're gonna get something later in the game. No, you just have your Omni tool the whole game, and your inventory button just reminds you that you have an Omni tool. So I didn't get the point of that. Like, why did you waste the resources to have an Omni tool flashing on the screen and like an inventory button? Like,
I don't
why
know.
why waste the time mapping that?
Well, I can see how that I can see how that's the case because sometimes you're holding a chip and sometimes you're holding like, quest items that you're going to use later. I don't like
Sometimes, but you hold it in your hand if it's a quest item, and like you see it in your face, in front of your face.
yeah, not all the time though cuz I that one chip for Brandon Juan, you picked it up or even like the control chip, you picked it up and then you just put it away. So,
Yeah, I don't know. It felt a little pointless to me. I thought we were gonna get maybe more items later. This
yeah,
is just a little, just
it
weird.
kind
It's
of
not really a con.
it is weird, especially since like there's not really a point in looking for it in your inventory because as soon as you go up to the thing that you need to use it on anyways, pull it out and use it.
Yep.
You just got to look at it. But yeah, I could see that is kind of dumb, but it's whatever.
Yeah. So the audio logs in this game, there's like three different types of audio logs, and they're not even really audio logs. They're black boxes that you're connecting to. Um, Basically audio logs,
Hmm.
and some are done well, and then there's others where you have to stand there and stare at the person's body while you're listening to it. And I wasn't much of a fan of those. I would like teach their own. I think it's personally like an objective thing, but I like audio logs where you can play them and then go walk around. So I don't
Oh,
want to stand and stare at a body for 2 minutes straight for some of those longer ones.
yeah, yeah, that's true. It kind of sucked that you had to sit there and listen to it, but I mean, luckily most of them were kind of bite sized, so
Yeah,
about like 20 seconds. And if you, I mean, there's usually a bit to unpack with each one, anyways. So I feel like if I were to walk around while it was playing, I would get distracted and not even know what the hell they're talking about. But then again,
yeah.
I sit
There's
and play with subtitles, so I wouldn't. Maybe that would have helped.
it wasn't a like a huge issue or anything. I think there was only like a handful of audio logs that actually sucked that were like 2+ minutes where I accidentally turned too far and then it turned off the audio log and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I'm not listening
Yeah,
to the rest of it. I'm not gonna play it over again.
yeah.
Stuff like that. Or like I tried to explore the room while I was doing it and walked a little bit too far and it turned off and yeah.
Luckily, these audio logs or black boxes, they don't really. they're not really necessary to the story most of the time. I say most of the time, but they are little hints. They can give little hints on what you need to do in order to solve like the overall overarching puzzle you need
Yep.
to do to get out of a certain area or move forward. So they do help in that way, which I can appreciate. But yeah, it just sucks that you have to sit there and listen to it.
Yeah, overall optional, so you can completely skip them. There's story
Yeah,
based ones. No achievements attached to them, which is one pro that I did have for this game as well. As an achievement hunter, the list was super easy and nice for a story driven game. Sometimes you get these story driven games where it's like, hey, go do all this stuff, or maybe even like Outlast is guilty of this, where like, hey, complete the game without dying and batteries and insane mode. And sometimes it's just really nice to be able to say, hey, just go through the game, and then
yeah,
that's it, and that's all this game really is for achievements. And then maybe there's one minor, possibly missable one in the game, but it's yeah hard to miss.
yeah.
I actually had two other pros for the game as well that I thought of that I want to detail before we get in.
But going talking about that being able to actually 100% the game in one
Yes.
playthrough, I really like that because it makes the game more digestible per se. For it being like a 7 or 8 hour game,
Yep.
the experience is only as good as the first playthrough, in my opinion. Especially if you can figure out an enemy, it like and you know where everything is. I can see like you replaying this game and just speed running it in 3 to 4 hours. If you just I don't know if you can skip dialogue or whatever, but if you wanted to do that, you very well could, and it would be the easiest game in the world. But I think the fear comes from the unknown and like trying to figure things out for the first time, I guess. So games like Outlast, I guess, is a little bit different. Well, it's kind of the same actually. So if you were to play it on a harder difficulty, what what would you do different?
Yeah, like what more do you get out of it? Like this game I think
Exactly.
is the perfect one playthrough and you're done. And that's not a bad thing for a game. Like
No,
it's not
not
bad
at
to say
all.
that hey, you're only going to play this one time. Like you got 8 hours of content out of this game and a lot more time in your mind after the game's over. Cuz I guarantee
Exactly.
this one will stick with you.
Yeah, same thing with the movie. You pay for tickets to go to a movie. You buy the game to play the game. Like it's a win win. And I don't subscribe to the whole idea of making a game super replayable all the time. Sometimes it's not necessary. Like
Yeah.
it's just like one and done. I was glad I played it, but I don't want to play it again.
Not every game has to be 100 plus hours and be constantly on your hot bar of playing to keep up with all the new stuff. Like sometimes it's just nice to play a game, have an experience, and just be done with it,
Exactly.
which is, yeah, just exactly what this is. To my other notes, I just want to point out I couldn't find like any of the specific artists and stuff in this game, but the Foley and sound design and then the soundtracks in this game, which is very few, but everywhere where all of that mixes was just phenomenal throughout this game.
On
Like
point.
the breathing, like just different object, what would you even call it? Like clipping. Like when you drop certain objects, the noises it would make, the when you bang things against things, everything just was really on point. The voice acting could be a little iffy here and there for some of the voice actors I noticed, but overall I think I dug it by the end, and I was pretty into our two main characters.
Yeah,
At the initial starting of the game, I was like, I don't know if I dig our main character, but I think past that halfway mark, I was like, okay, I like him now.
yeah. You start to see like more. diverse emotions from our main character as the game goes on,
Yep.
and you don't see it till like the last half, which was like it was a little weird at first because like all this crazy shit is happening, and he's just like, "There's
Just chill.
monsters out there," and I'm like, "Dude, are you serious? Like, you are not scared out of your mind right now?" He's just like, "Okay, I guess I'll do it. I'll go out there with the monster." I'm like, that could have been written a little better because like he's not selling me on like actually being terrified of these creatures. It's just
This is
like,
fine. Everything is fine.
yeah,
Whereas, yeah, he doesn't freak out that much. Whereas you get the opposite with Brandon, where Brandon is obviously a paranoid guy, and as soon as he finds out he's not in his real body, he's just a scan. He freaks the fuck out. But Simon, spoilers, obviously, I think we're well into talking about the game already,
right.
does not freak out at all when he finds out he's not in his real body. He just kind of accepts it pretty quickly.
I wouldn't say he accepts it. It was, I mean, when he first finds out, he like I think he just had to take it in for a minute because he was thinking he was human for the first bit until
Yeah.
Catherine told him what he was, and then he like I don't know if it was like at that time he was already convinced that he wasn't human. Maybe he just didn't feel human, which is also another thing. But I mean, I feel like after a while, you kind of figure out that it's just like he had a lot of existential crisis throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
And just sitting there thinking about life and philosophizing and all that stuff and thinking of what it is to be human and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's not like he accepted it. He was just, I think it was more of he didn't know how to feel about it, which, I mean, who knows? It's not any situation that either of us has been in. So, how could we
Yeah.
know how he should react to that? But
That's
what he
true.
should
Yeah.
react to is the fucking monsters out there, though. He's like, all right, I guess I'll go out there with the monsters.
Yep. Man
It's
made
like,
horrors within my comprehension right there.
yeah, I don't know. It made me wonder, like, since he does it, he knows he's not human, that there's no real consequence here, or I don't know.
Yeah. No fear of actual death.
Right.
My other main note here is even though this game's small, it's an indie game, this game is really fucking pretty.
It
Like
is.
they don't even glamorize it at all. There's no Bioshock sweeping shot of the ocean. There's no like real magnificent jingles, I think, that I can recall of that like focus on the beauty. It's just it's there. And whether you take your time to admire it or not, it's just there and it is what it is and it's looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, I agree. The game world is extremely detailed, and the colors, the visuals, just everything kind of meshes together to make it seem like it's
Yeah.
dark, but like there's a certain vibrance to it, I guess. The lights and the monsters and stuff, like everything just seems to work together. So, I mean, props to the sound design team and the artwork art people for this game because they outdid themselves for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, so sorry I had a lot of notes there, but I like this game and I had a lot to think about
Yeah,
overall.
me too. We're probably gonna dive into some philosophy here because I like to think that me and Andy here are a bit of amateur philosophers. I mean, we ask each other's questions, so we like to ponder. So we are going to get a little philosophical here, talking about the overall. I guess as they pop up, the overall
Narrative themes and
narrative theme. Yeah,
consequences and all
that
that.
throughout the game because there's a lot to unpack with that. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, I am as well. You want to take a short break here before we jump into the main game?
Absolutely.
Alrighty, we will see you guys soon.
Welcome back. And for now, for the next while, we're going to get into the story of this game. So, our main character, Simon Jarrett, is a man that has brain damage and hemorrhaging. I think it's like a he has hemorrhaging going on in his brain from a car crash he survived,
Yes.
and he is looking for solutions to help him survive. So, I mean, that's the main premise of it. But we start out waking up in the bed, getting a phone call from Dr. Munchie
Munshi,
telling him to
yeah.
come in for his appointment and that he has to take his tracer fluid. Dr. Munchie prescribed him tracer fluid to prepare him for
It's
his brain scan.
yeah. It's like that vein stuff they use to pump through your veins to make it all like super blue so they can tell how your circulation is going.
Oh, I didn't know that. Honestly, I had no clue what tracer fluid was. I mean, this was made back in 2015, and I know it's not like super futuristic, but I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
tracer fluid. That sounds like some futuristic shit. But no, it's an actual thing, and I didn't know about it. But
Yeah, I've never heard of like brain ones though. I assume it's the same though, like trying to see what parts of his brain are powered up by where it
yeah,
goes.
I assume that's the case. But when we wake up, we get the call, and so when we start playing, we're able to explore the apartment. And Simon lives in Toronto, Canada, and your first objective is to find the tracer fluid. So this gives you incentive to go around and play with the physics mechanics and just open up drawers, find out wherever he put it. Simon has completely forgot where he put it, so you have to go find it. Yeah, and I really like this. This is like it seems really realistic in this. I mean, the whole game is pretty realistic in terms of like the art design, but just the lighting and everything in the room, uh, just great.
Yeah, this is very good. I thought for a second when we were starting that Simon being Canadian meant, oh, this is probably a Canadian studio. Looked it up, and Frictional is actually Swedish. So it's pretty neat. I feel like I've been seeing a lot more Canadian culture lately. Not that it really affects the game too much. I think there's a few more references to Toronto and different areas, but just interesting to see more works out of Canada.
Feels like life in Canada is a bit more modest than most cultures. Like they don't really have anything going on. Like I'm I'm pretty up north in the United States, and if I were to if anything were to happen in the closest Canadian town next to me, I would have no idea because we just don't talk about it here in America. So there could be things going on in Canada, but we just don't know. So I can only assume that it's pretty chill up there.
Yeah, I forgot to mention based on the intro. What mode did you play this game on? Safe or normal?
Normal.
Okay. For the listeners, there's two difficulty modes to this game. There's safe and normal. Safe is basically if you want to play this game as a walking simulator and just take in the story rather than the horror elements, they're still they're still there. You just can't die. So there's no real like reason to avoid the monsters per se because they can't hurt you. So it's just
Yeah,
a
well,
way for you to play it for just the story.
they can hurt you still. I'm assuming in safe mode, you just won't die because after you get hit once, you get knocked out or whatever, and you wake up. I'm assuming that just keeps happening
From
over
what
and
I've
over again.
seen from other people, it's a little more comical. Some people have actually commented that they will like chase you to a doorway, and then when they come face to face with you, they'll just step out of the way.
Oh my god,
I can't confirm that. It's just what I've seen on like Reddit posts and stuff like that. But
that's insane. Why would you even want to play it like that?
I
It's just ruining
believe
a whole point.
it wasn't originally in the game. I think it was a like a complaint or something, and then people they ended up putting it in just as like I think it was a joke.
Oh, okay.
But
So
definitely, this
did you
game
play
is meant
on?
to be played in normal. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I played it in.
Do you want to play on normal mode or sissy mode?
Yeah,
Is what you're saying?
yeah. I mean, like, I get it. Some people maybe aren't as like functional as people with disabilities, or people that just maybe aren't as prone to horror that maybe still want to experience the story.
Yeah,
But I mean, it is a horror game
it
for the
is.
people that just don't want to experience the horror. Like, I don't know, watch a playthrough on YouTube or listen to this podcast if you don't want
Yeah,
to like go through it yourself.
exactly. It's just don't play the game if you're going to play it on safe mode. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
That kind of ruins it for me. Uh,
it
but
kind
each
of
to their
defeats
own.
the entire premise of the game. Not that you can't still take the philosophical bits without it, but
Right. It just, it's like, I want to say like 70% of the game is the horror elements and those crazy intense moments where you're getting chased. But
yeah, it takes away from a lot of the areas if you don't have horror. So
yeah, I've actually only died once throughout this game, and the checkpoints seem to be pretty liberal, anyways. So
yeah, it was about 3 times for me. I think my first death wasn't until pretty late in the game, just due to a really dumb decision on my part.
yeah,
And yeah, they're pretty liberal. They just spawn you back pretty close from my experience.
yeah. I don't know if it would be more frustrating or more not wanting to die or self preservation involved if the checkpoints were few and far between. What do you think?
I I think your average gamer is probably going to fall between that 1 to 5 deaths mark. Like
Yeah,
unless you're just really bad at like the stealth in this game isn't even hard, I would say. Like
no,
I don't know, unless you're just completely careless and running around, you're probably not going to have that many deaths. So
yeah,
it shouldn't be a problem for you. So
no. Stealth isn't hard,
I'm fine with how
and
they did the checkpoint system. I like it.
yeah, me too. So yeah, I mean, how long did you spend going around the apartment looking for the tracer fluid?
About as long as it took me to throw every book off the shelf and every cup out of the cupboards.
I was doing the same thing, dude. As soon as it
And
showed
then,
me how to throw, that was it.
yep,
Just
I
throwing
wasn't.
everything.
I was a little sad that glass doesn't shatter, but I guess I understand they don't want to go through all that
Yeah,
animation.
I mean, the physics were pretty on par as it is, so I mean, you can't really complain. That's fine.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed. Like, I felt like I learned a lot about Simon just walking around his apartment,
Yeah.
and like we mentioned earlier in the intro, we don't even know if this is our Simon technically, because as we're going to get to, he's about to get a brain scan,
Yep.
and it's very likely that this isn't even the original Simon that we play as later. So, very interesting philosophical stuff.
Yeah. But we in the apartment we find some books. He likes to read. And he's also a comic book fan as he works at a comic book shop. So yeah, his apartment's pretty modest.
Yep, and we find the brain fluid, and we dip on out of the apartment
Yep.
as soon as you're done exploring there.
Yep. And then when you leave the apartment, it cuts straight to a train ride, taking public transportation. And we get a phone call from one of Simon's friends. And he's basically just kind of palling around with them, giving him shit about having the whole brain shit going on.
Yeah,
I think he made like a really dark joke, try not to die or something.
yeah, like he has a choice because he's gonna die anyways because of his brain
Right.
issues.
Yeah.
Doctor Munchie is actually not technically a doctor yet. He's still a graduate student working on his PhD thesis, which is what we are about to test for him. his
Yes.
little brain project here.
Yeah, it's that is a point important detail actually, because we walk in and we're like, "Hey, doctor," and it's like, "Oh, he's not doctor yet," and all of a sudden I'm on edge. I'm like, "You're not a doctor, and you're gonna work on
You
my brain."
sit in this saw-like chair, and we'll strap you in.
Yep. And so there, our first puzzle was actually getting into his office and having to
Yeah,
find. I
that was
actually
pretty
had a
cool.
lot of trouble at this part because you had to find the code to get into the room. But
Yep.
I was running back and forth because I didn't know exactly where to look for it. But it was actually like it was hidden in like not really hidden. It was circled, but it was like kind of cool, but it was more frustrating. That honestly, out of all the puzzles, my least favorite was the first one. Not you know, not to say that the first one should be difficult, but I just couldn't find it. Maybe I'm just not that perceptive, but
It's I didn't find it too difficult. I definitely like the element of it feeling pretty realistic. Like that's a scenario that could actually happen. It's not one of these weird like video game puzzles that would never happen in real life where you're connecting wires or stuff like
that's
that.
true.
You're just
Yeah,
looking for a password to open the door, and it's pretty cool. And the place looks run down, which also gives you a little sense of worry for this project. And
yeah. It was like in the middle of
turns out
renovations,
he's
and
renting the place just for the day. And
yep, yeah. All those details just left me uneasy. I'm like, okay, Simon, I'm sorry that you're going through this sketchy procedure.
yeah, and it turns out to not really matter because
It doesn't matter. No.
his his project works. We get our brain scan,
Yep.
and we don't really ever get the details. At least I never found the details of how Simon's brain scan survived 100 years and survived the apocalypse. Maybe it was one of the initial testings before Catherine's project,
It was.
like a
And
prerequisite or precursor.
I actually did find these details. So Dr. Munchie was working on this as a thesis, and apparently his thesis was actually a success and it was actually researched, therefore, afterwards. So he
Okay.
kept Simon's brain scan as like proof of his thesis, and that's how it survived. It mostly survived as data up for 100 years until it was actually placed into a chip, and then we don't exactly know how he was uploaded to that suit or whatever, but that's as much as I know.
Yeah, so we as soon as we close our eyes with the chair with Dr. Munchie, we wake up and we are in our new body 100 years later.
Yeah. So we wake up in a very dark room, nothing going on. Simon's freaking out. I'm freaking out as I'm playing this, and our first objective is to get out of the room.
Yeah, you get to test the physics a little bit here. You get to break the window.
Yeah, you got to break the window. I didn't know how to do that at first though, because like I was just wandering around. I'm like, how do I get out of here? And then I saw the window was cracked, and then this is the point where it gave me a little hint. It was like, you know, press this to throw objects. I'm like, why is it telling me that? And then I saw the window. I'm like, oh, okay.
I got really excited when I seen the window with the door being locked. I was like, "Oh, they're letting me do this. This is
Yep.
awesome." Such a small thing, but I like realism stuff like that. And
Oh
I
yeah.
immediately I don't think I threw it. I think I just banged it on the window until it broke.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's very good. We explore this area a little bit, and we find our Omni tool
Yep.
over on like a desk in a different room.
Yeah. We start to. It starts to get a little more crazy. Like nothing really crazy happens, but it's more unsettling when all the
Yeah,
lights shut
the
off
power goes
on your way to.
off.
Yeah,
Yep.
all the lights shut off on your way to the Omni tool, and then once you get it, you just have to feel your way around because it was really dark, and it would be nice to have a flashlight at this point. And you just have to find your way back to the room and activate. I don't even remember what you have to activate.
You had to put a new chip in there to unlock the
Ah,
door,
that's right.
which
Yeah,
is
you have to update it.
it was one of those things. It just felt a little pointless because you don't even use the Omni tool in the first place. You immediately like upgrade it to open the next door. Like, why
Yeah,
not just use the Omni tool in the first place to open the door as a game mechanic thing? Like, why make us
yeah,
go back to the room to upgrade it right away?
yeah. That's a good point. This this does happen again, probably once or twice throughout the rest of the
Yeah,
game.
just in
But
this scenario, like your first time using it was upgrading it.
right, I'm not sure honestly. If you didn't know, like, because I think it was just like more of like a story thing. Like you had to update it to the security, and you had to. That was because you picked it up, and it was originally belonged to a maintenance guy or whatever,
Yeah,
and you have to upgrade the security to actually like bypass the door, and it is kind of pointless, but I don't know.
yeah. So we learn how to run earlier in the game, and then like shortly after, I think we pick up the Omni tool. There's a tooltip for learning how to lean, and I think that tooltip was honestly scarier than most games that like Dead Island, where it pops up saying this is how to run, and you immediately use it. And I
Yep.
think Dead Space does it too. Learning how to lean in this game was like, oh shit, what's around the next corner?
Yep.
And then I never used that feature again.
I did a few times only because there were some enemies that could see you, and I didn't want to be seen, and that really helped in that aspect. But yeah, it wasn't really. It's not really essential to the gameplay. It's just an option you. It's a tool to your tool belt mostly.
Yep, yep, exactly.
But yeah, uh, with the with that Omni tool being updated, it might be like I'm probably it's probably shot in the dark, but it might be a way to show you like how certain things work. Because I remember sometimes you have to update chips in order to do that, but the game tells you to do it anyways. Like
Yeah.
whatever device you're working on, trying to fix. You're fixing a lot of things in this game, by the way. Everything is fucking broken, and you have to go fix it. And then I think that's what drives the story forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's all been sitting stagnant for years.
That's true, but it's just like doing. I guess I don't know. It comes to a point where you're like, all right, well, this isn't gonna work. Till like Catherine tells you to do something, you're like, I know this isn't gonna work. I'm gonna have to fix something or not use it at all. But yeah,
Yeah, so we use our newly upgraded Omni tool to get through the first door and make our way through some spooky, poorly lit tunnels, of course, until we find a control room. And I sadly have to unplug a robot to death, and not the first person we'll kill, so to say.
yeah,
Which you don't realize it really at the moment that that's a person or like a brain scan into a robot. But we unplug him because he was draining power from the control panel, and we turn it back on, and that's when we get an alert from Catherine.
yep,
She tells us to head upstairs to the comm center. She works over at one of the other facilities, and yeah, then we get to have our first encounter with an enemy in this game as we're making our way to the comm room.
yeah. So you turn on the power, and then you go into the power generator room, and it breaks, and you fall down, and now you're stuck in the bottom level with this giant robot that has like glowing nodules all over him, and it's got a big light in front of him, which makes it pretty easy to figure out what he's looking at because he's pretty easy to avoid as long
He's a
as you
big
stay
like
behind
motor
him.
bot or something.
Yeah, and he's kind of just lugging around, and
Yeah,
so
They let you off easy at first. I was like, oh, if all the enemies are like this game's gonna be
I
cake.
know. I was thinking the same thing, dude. I'm like, oh wow, this isn't as scary as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I because I snuck around this guy and flipped the valve and stuff that we need to, and I pretty much sprinted upstairs and got away
Yep.
from him.
And he's pretty slow, so you could definitely do that, whether he sees you or not.
Yeah,
One thing I will say is that whenever you're spotted, that music is so intense that it's very it yeah, it feels like a chase for sure.
yeah. We make it upstairs to the control room where we meet Carl Semkin. Carl thinks he's human and starts giving us more hints that something's weird on this station. He's a little factory robot and he's stuck, and there's a lever on the one side of the wall, and I pulled it and it shocked the shit out of him. And I
Yep,
felt so bad. I don't know if you did
I
that
did
too.
too. I did the same thing and I felt bad and I shut it off. I'm like, okay, there's got to be another way. And it wasn't until I tried using the computer to open up the door to get up to the comms room that it said that you have to shut down one of two areas for power. So
Yeah. And I was thinking we had a choice here. I thought it was going to be like a power rerouting thing, like a mini game of like, oh, you got to shut down one door to open another.
yeah,
And so we go to the other room to shut off the power, and they kind of give you a warning saying, hey, this is like undoable.
yeah.
And we do it, and it shuts down power to the whole place. And it kills Carl too, which is sad. And this other killer robot
Wait,
comes.
so you didn't have to kill Carl. You know that, right?
Oh, was there another option here?
Yeah. So when it said divert power, it gave you it gave you a choice because there was two rooms that had, I think, in the back there was a hallway in the back. If you went back there, there was a like a power strip there, and if
Mm-hmm.
you shut down the power there, you shut down the power like in that area,
Okay.
and it doesn't kill Carl because that side of the map is still on.
Oh, when they
Yeah.
said there was two paths, I thought the shocky lever was the other one, and so it was
Oh
just
no,
you have two choices, but you actually only have one choice.
no, no. It actually says the same thing in that other room too. It's like there's no turning back if you shut this off. I'm like, all right, and I shut it off, and Carl was still there, and I was like hoping to have another opportunity to help him,
Yeah,
but soon forgot about him after I moved on because like
yeah.
I had bigger problems. But
Well, that's really sad. Like, I wish I knew that I had a choice there.
that's all right. It's not the first time. It won't be the
Yeah.
last.
In the end, I probably would have made that decision. I guess knowing the future of the game,
Yeah.
because he would be sitting there for eternity.
Well, that brings up another philosophical question. Is a life worth living if you're not human?
Is a life worth living if you're just standing there, like stuck in a box?
Yeah, which is exactly what Carl was in Carl's situation.
Yeah. Where I think it differs though is like Catherine, where she can be mobile and Carl wasn't ever going to move. So
Yeah, Catherine. Catherine seems to be indifferent about the situation. Well, we could talk more about it later, but it's interesting her perspective on the whole thing. She seems kind of cold, actually, when it comes to humanity and the whole idea of it all. But yeah,
yeah, I think she's a firm believer in the afterlife of the brain scans, and I don't
yeah,
think she ever really cared for her human form.
no,
She was kind of like always put down, and yeah,
yeah, we'll get to know her story more, which kind of explains some, but it also, yeah, it's also sad. But
yep,
anyways,
yeah. Either ways,
after you divert the power, you go upstairs, and that's where Catherine is. So we meet her for the first time. well, we see her on the intercom, and
Yeah.
she tells us that we need to go to Lambda.
Yep.
That's where she's located. So after that, something goes wacky, and the whole place gets filled with water. Like the
Yeah, the whole bubble collapses and
yeah,
we get flushed out pretty much.
yeah, the bubble collapses. We get flushed out, and then this is where we have a scuba suit like seemingly gloss over our skin, which is a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Catherine wants us to take the tram to Lambda Station, so we're like, chill. We're outside. We don't need to breathe water for some reason, or breathe air underwater. We don't question it, and we
Yep.
just go find the tram underwater.
Well, we're in a scuba suit.
It's sort of like a scuba suit. We find out later that it's not really.
Well, it is, but it's still a scuba suit.
Not at this point. We're just in the other person's body, and it doesn't have a head. We're just a microchip plugged into a body.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But it's still a scuba suit. The whole encapsulating part of, well, yeah. The whole encapsulation of it is a scuba suit though.
Is it?
It is.
Oh yeah, I guess when we do find see the body later, it has
Yeah.
like some sort of a helmet on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, we make our whatever we look like. We head to the little tram door and find this little helper bot that opens the door for us, and then we get a flashlight from here and get to go through some tunnels, and we got to power this tram. So we find this woman that's just being kept alive by this weird bug machine, and this is again where
Yeah.
we have to pull a plug so that we can so it stops draining from the power supply and turns it back on.
She's like all like in this like goo and like hooked up like with like wires.
Yep.
So this stuff,
This is WoW.
it is wow, like
WAU.
WAU,
Yep.
and what it stands for, I don't know, but it is we'll explain more later when we exposition and all that. What it is, it's like a mix between flesh and mechanical, if that makes sense. So it looks kind of fleshy.
It's a robot that's controlling all of it, but it's like nano machines almost, and it's you can use it to morph over stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. And it controls things, it consumes things, and this poor lady was. It seemed like was on life support through this like wow substance hooked up to the power, and whatever this wow substance is hooked up to, it'll just consume all the power. It's like almost always needing more power generation. So there's a lot of points where you have to like unhook things to turn on the power because the WoW is sucking it all out.
Yep. Yeah. So poor Amy has to die, but now that the power's on, we
Yeah.
can go to Lambda Station,
Yep.
and we crash on the way
Yeah.
because of course we do.
Of course we do. Yeah. We'll say that a lot, but yeah.
Everything always has to go wrong because I mean, you start to think about it. It's probably WoW just controlling things.
Yeah.
It just doesn't want us to succeed and send the arc for whatever reason.
It could be.
It's an Ultron type thing. It's like it was made to help humanity, and then it's like starts making its own purpose of how it's going to save humanity. So
Yeah. And like all Ultron themed AIs, that they're evil and they got to wipe out all the humans.
yeah,
Because I mean,
well, it
I
was more
never
absorbing them.
or absorbing them, but like I never understood the whole idea of that. Like humans cause destruction to each other, therefore we need to destroy all the humans.
Yeah,
I suppose thinking from a robot's perspective, not having any morality, that could make sense. But like for it being such a smart being. Like you couldn't think of any other possible solutions to protect humans other than annihilating them all. I don't know.
Nope, that's the way to deal with this. We crash the tram and have to emergency eject and walk the rest of the way. We find a maintenance hatch, and get back out onto the seafloor. So back to walking towards Lambda Station again, while avoiding these creepy robots underwater that swear a lot.
They do. It kind of threw me off for a minute because I thought they were going to be friendly, like all the other ones I've seen. But
Yeah,
like when I approached one, it had the red lights, and I always thought that wasn't a good sign. And then he's like, "Don't make me do this," and he started approaching me, and I started running away, and I was able to escape him. But like he was just like so creepy.
yeah.
I never really had any like terrible encounters with these guys. They're just weird.
No, they're easy to avoid.
Yeah.
But yeah, we arrive at Lambda Station finally, and we get to meet Catherine, who is she's a robot. She wasn't real.
Yep.
She's just on a computer screen, and she seems well aware of it. Yeah,
And
she seems okay with it.
well, before we get into that room, there's our first encounter with a WoW infected person, which comes around the corner, and Catherine tells us to not look at it. Because when you look at it, your screen gets all messed up and stuff, and it gets so messed up that you can barely see. So this thing is wandering around, and you have to sneak into the room that she's in without, looking at it or getting too close to it, which is pretty easy to do. Saying that it kind of just walked across the room and you're able to go in there.
Yeah, I didn't even sneak past this guy. I just my entire strategy every time this guy came around was just standing in a corner and not looking at him till he went away.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like this guy at all, though.
yeah,
wasn't
no,
wasn't a fan of this enemy.
yeah, he sucks. But like before the second encounter with him, and this is my first encounter with him, and I was all freaked out, but I was like, sneaking past him. So and then I actually got in there. Yeah, we don't see him for a while, but he was there, and man, that creepy. So we're talking to Catherine and find out she's a robot, and Simon, he just wants to give up at this point. There's no point. Everybody's a robot. There's no humans left. What is the point? We just give up. But Catherine needs help with the research or project she's working on, which we later find out is the ARC project. But she needs you to go look to see where it is. So we agree to do it after a little bit of resistance, and then yeah, so we get to explore Lambda Station a little bit.
Yeah, however, it's only like 6 rooms because the
Yeah.
rest is locked off.
Yep.
We use one of the terminals to locate where the arc is and find out it is in the very furthest station from us.
Yeah.
So we need to go find the Dunbar over at Theta, which is kind of like a underwater sub, and go take that out. I explored some of these rooms just for curiosity, and there's the one that's I think it's the first on the right when you come in. You get like the only real jump scare I think I've noticed in this game. One of those red light robots. As you stare out the port window into the sea, he just comes out of nowhere and slams his head into the glass. I was like, oh, that was creepy. And then he backs up and continues to slam into the glass. He does that like 2 or 3 more times as it's continuously cracking. And I was like trying to hide behind a desk. I was like, please stop. He's going to flood this whole station.
I know. I was freaked out by that. Definitely made me jump the first time he did it. But yeah,
It's like he's
that
not stopping.
that was like that might be the only jump scare.
Yeah, it's really not a thing in this game. They focus on a different type of horror, which is awesome.
Yeah, more like more of a tension horror than a jump scare horror, which is nice.
Yeah. So we head out of here, and then we try to take a sub. And this is one of the parts where I got confused at, where the sub didn't end up working. So we have to go back through this broken ship to get through the other side. And we get some fun, not real jump scares, but the blind guy is lurking about and spooking you.
Well, he's definitely not blind.
He's blind.
He sees you, but you can't look at him because he'll come directly up towards you.
I was pretty sure he's blind because I've sat in the corner a couple times where he definitely could have seen me if he was looking in the room, and I
Oh,
just wait for him to go away. I think if you just don't look at him, you're fine.
oh, well, okay. I always assumed he could see me, but if I did, yeah, I did the same thing you did by standing in the corner the whole time I was doing that with the music being so loud and all the sound and shit. I'm like, it's just a game. It's just a game. He's not
Yeah,
real. He's not real.
there was a point that we get to is we're in one of these sunken ships and there's a TV playing with some like audio
Yep.
about pretty much just talking about the end of the world, and he's around in there, and I was pretty much just hiding in a corner, and you're just hearing this creepy audio over the TV, and then there's the music, and then he's lurking about, and you're
Oh
just
my god.
looking into the corner, like just praying not to die, and you
Yeah.
just can't turn around.
This part is so intense. Yeah, this is like the start of the whole aversion to playing this game because like I think that was when I texted you. I'm like, I don't know if I could play this game, man. This is too intense. I I got through it. I faced my demons. In the end, just like anything scary, it's not so bad. Okay, not
I
anything scary, but you know what I mean.
I think I was on par with you for a bit there. I was around the same part when you were telling me that, and I agreed. I did not like this guy at all. I
Yeah.
was not having fun in these segments with this guy, and we're we're in this other ship, and we have to find their sub. But Catherine wants us to start like pulling reactor plugs first before we leave, so that we can overload the ship for whatever excuse she gave. I think
Well,
it gets rid of this guy.
it was to over because the emergency locks were on.
Oh, so need a reason to break away,
Yeah.
something like that.
It, the safety locks were blocking the vessel. So we had to shut
Oh,
off the power in order to proceed. So in order to do that, we have to go find the power generator room back where that monster is. This is that point of the dialogue that I was talking about, and he's like, "But there's monsters out there," and like with like no like anxiety in his voice, and it's like,
and she's like, "You gotta." It's like, okay.
"Yeah, okay, I guess I'll do it." It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, truly, he doesn't have a choice, but he could have shown a little more anxiety in
Yeah,
his voice or something. I
some
don't know.
emotion at
Yep.
all.
Yeah, so we get to pull all the tentacle plugs from the reactor, and it turns out our plan worked a little too well because the whole ship blows the fuck up as
Yeah,
we are sailing away in our sub, and it gives us crash number 2.
yep. We're always crashing.
In this section as well, I did really like the running away section after we overload it when he's like chasing us out of here.
Yep, me
I thought
too.
that was pretty spooky and well done.
Yeah,
And I was quickly trying to slam the door behind me.
I really liked how there was a line of lights leading straight back to the emergency pod.
I didn't even notice that. I was like, okay, wait, it's this left, and then I was trying to
I
remember the way back.
I wasn't even doing that. I'm like, until I get lost, I'm just gonna follow these lights on the ground because I'm assuming if I were to like design a ship, if the power were to go off, I would like to have lights leading to a way out. And I guess that clicked with me. So I'm like, I'm gonna follow these lights. They probably lead to the exit. I'm good.
You
And
thought about
that's
this
what they
a
did.
little more logically than me. So we have crash number two, and we land pretty close to Delta Station, and then we're trapped inside the sub, but our little helper robot comes back again and frees us. I like this little guy. He's
We've
cool.
seen him before.
Yeah, he initially lets us into Lambda Station, and then, or sorry, not Lambda Station. Lambda Station, the tram room. He opens the door for us there by whatever the opposite of welding is when he does the shocky lightsaber thing around
Oh,
it.
right. Kind of
And
like
then
plasma cutting.
yeah, and then he opens up the sub door for us. And as we'll see, he will help us out a few more times here before we don't see him again.
Yeah. So now we are arriving at Delta Station, which is not really a station that you can go in. It's like
It's a
a bunch of
scattering of buildings.
yeah, it's a scattering of buildings, and right now we're just like trying to figure out how to get to Theta. And I took me a little bit of exploring to figure out that I needed. Did you do anything with that radio tower, by the way?
Yes, yeah, that's the way that you summon the Zeppelin.
Is it
Yeah, that
okay?
little I didn't mind this puzzle. I like this one. It's pretty cool. You interacted with that one where you were moving the spinner around and trying to like match up the frequency with the number
Yeah.
to turn on
Oh,
the signal for the Zeppelin. That's the radio tower they were
that's
talking
what it
about.
is. Okay. I I had okay. I'm mostly remembering doing that radio signal thing, just messing around with it before I went over to the intercom to find out which one it was to actually do the puzzle correctly. Because I was
Yep.
just messing with it. I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? And that's what I remember. But then I remember after going to the intercom and figuring out, oh, it's summon the Zeppelin. And then I've, found the numbers and stuff and used that. But
Yep.
yeah,
And I fully expected something to be on the Zeppelin when it came back, considering you read some of the audio logs are out here, and something evil took a Zeppelin out of here. So yeah, I was fully expecting something bad to be coming back, but it wasn't that bad. We plugged Catherine in as we summon the Zeppelin, and turns out our tool chip is busted, of course.
yeah, yeah,
So we have to find a stun gun. Which is the only other time I think that we pick up like a tool in this game.
it is. I was getting excited at this point because I thought we were going to be able to like shoot some robots or something. But this
Yeah.
is the only time you use it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, is this a progression to like more tools?
Right.
No, we just have to murder one person and then steal his chip.
Well,
Which you have to
you
do
have
it.
another choice here. You could kill that one guy or you
No,
could kill the bot.
I chose the wrong one.
Well, did you kill the guy? That's what I did too.
Yeah, I killed the guy. I didn't know I had a choice here.
He seemed he seemed like lost, like kind of loony. He's like, "Don't worry, I got it. I got you, man." I was just listening to him, like this guy seems pretty cool, but I ended up having to do it because I tried killing the little helper bot, but he was too fast. Like he wasn't too fast, but I'm just like, okay, this guy's slower. I'm just gonna get this guy.
How dare you? He was trying to
It
help
was a
us.
bit cold. I know. I felt bad afterwards. I mean, when you really think about it, he's not really alive either.
How do you know? He could be a human just that can't talk.
He could, well,
Like
no,
he could be like another Catherine or one of her team, and so he's trying to help us out.
he could have been, but
You
why?
never
Why wouldn't
know.
he be able to talk? I
No
think he was
voice
just a
module.
drone, like taxed to help out with whoever needs him.
Everyone else had like a voice module in their robots, but he would just be like a helper drone.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's alive either. They're brain scans.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know what I
see
mean?
where you
It's just like a
fall on the
snapshot.
philosophy line.
It's like a snapshot of someone's current consciousness, just ported onto data and then uploaded into a machine. Okay, okay. Let's put it this way: If you were to have a brain scan right now and upload it to a robot that is talking with you right there as you, would you have an issue taking it out or disabling it or shutting it down?
Okay, let me add more detail to this too. You've seen Chappie, yeah?
Yeah.
So at the end, spoilers for Chappie, but this movie's like 8 years old now.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Chappie, pause it now, go watch
Just
it, and
skip
then come
15
back.
seconds.
Yeah.
At the end, he uploads his brain scan to the robot like Chappie was.
Yep.
So technically, his body's dead. Would you consider that new consciousness in the robot not a person? Because that's basically what they're doing here.
Well,
Even though we can make multiple copies of ourselves after then, they're still each you. Like, they think they're real. They think they're the original.
okay.
And they still think and feel
Sure.
like you.
But to be fair, though, I don't think living at the sea level or bottom of the sea with little to no contact with anybody else as a robot, just left wandering around with a horde of monsters around. I don't know if I would want to go on living at that point.
I agree with that, but like definitely the end goal with Simon here is to create the Ark, which is kind of like a paradise for all these brain scans
Right. Well, and it's
out in
already
space.
created. It just needs to be launched into space, and there's already
Yeah,
like thousands of people uploaded onto it. Which
yeah.
is, I mean, this is also
There's
something.
there's like
Have
20.
you played Cyberpunk?
No, I have not.
You haven't. Or do you plan on playing it?
Probably not.
Okay. Well, at the end of that game, there's also another.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Also, spoilers for Cyberpunk. You should also play that. Skip ahead 15 seconds. I'll make it quick. At the end of that game, there is also another like landscape full of human consciousnesses uploaded onto like this whole thing.
Hmm.
But it's a lot more dark than the Ark, where they're kind of just there to exist and not like actually live out any simulations or anything. So it it seemed kind of grim to me. So I'm like, nah. Like you had a choice to either get uploaded onto that because you're like dying, and or just live out the rest of your, shorter lifespan because of your brain virus. And I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna go live life, because like I feel like if you're living life, there's no point to immortality, you know, because if
Yeah,
you just like out here just sitting in a drive, I don't know if that's really worth living.
but
I don't know.
Catherine makes a comment because Simon does ask her about that. He's like, "Don't you like get bored or like go insane like sitting in that drive all day?" And she's like, "No, it's like a blink. Like when you plug me in, I'm here and I'm conscious, but everything other than that, it's like it didn't happen. Like I don't. She doesn't perceive that time until she's plugged in and powered.
Right.
So when they're sitting like in the drives and stuff, they're not like conscious of it.
That's
So
true. But that's also the same thing with death, right? You're not going to be conscious. You're not going to know you're dead either.
yeah, yeah,
But
and
like,
it's like a heaven debate as well.
yeah,
Like
it's
technically
it.
in heaven, at least from religions that I know of, like I don't think you're a corporeal form. Like you don't have a physical body. You're more of just like an essence, right? And like your mind.
I'm not too familiar with it, but yeah, it like yeah. If you go to heaven, then you're not really. Essentially, there's different views on it. One view that I know of is that you go to heaven as your best years, like your best years of yourself, I guess, which I would assume would be like early 20s.
20s, yeah.
And you get to do and have whatever you want. And it just.
This is basically what these guys get. They can't technically die once they're in the arc. They
Yeah,
pretty much can simulate whatever they want.
exactly.
They're pretty much immortal till the power runs out, and they just get to enjoy life.
Till the power runs out.
Yeah,
Is
they
that to
said
say,
they make a comment near the end saying that they have a couple of thousand years of power on the Ark.
but that's
And
thousands of years. What can you do in a, give yourself 1,000 years. What are you going to do?
maybe they could figure out a way to give themselves bodies and start working towards building humanity again.
I think that's what their plan was, right? To land on another habitable planet, however far away it is. And
The I don't know if I was misunderstanding it, but I thought that Catherine says we just want to orbit Earth until we can rebuild again. But the end of the game, as we'll get to, is different.
yeah, I don't know exactly what their end game was, but it was a whole thing of self-preservation and all that. They didn't want to accept dying, but I
Yeah,
don't know if
let's. Sorry.
you would have to create clones or something, right? I
Oh,
mean,
well,
cloning is a thing. We know that's exists now. So wouldn't they have the same thing going on 100 years from now? Like when they have like
I think
human DNA on
they
that
just
arc?
give themselves more replaceable bodies. Like they'd probably just use mechanical frames,
Oh,
is
is
what
that
I would
what it is to
assume.
be human? I don't know.
I mean, if you were just a brain in the jar, would you still be human?
I don't think I would be. It goes against everything that nature intended,
It's
I guess.
There's been many a philosopher that have debated like the mind body problem over thousands of years. I don't know if we'd add anything new to it, but it's a very interesting debate about like, are you still you without your body? And then you break it
Yeah.
down even more. Are you still you without your hands? Are you still you without your arms? Well, at what point do you stop becoming you?
Yeah. That's the same thing about talking about a chair. Like what makes a chair a chair? If it's missing a leg, is it still a chair? You know, a chair is essentially a compilation of parts.
Yeah, as long as the function still stays the same, which I mean, I would probably argue that our main function is probably our consciousness.
Yeah. And our main function is our consciousness, but yeah, that is a question that's the question of the night. It's the question of this game is
Yeah,
what makes you human?
and it's not something you are expecting when you jump into this game. You're like, oh, horror game, ooh, amnesia creators, and then
Yeah.
you get through this game. You're like, huh, there's some interesting questions, and you finish this game, and you're like, oh, oh,
Yeah.
what am I?
Well, think of yourself as well, yeah, we'll get there. But I
Yeah,
have more to talk about that stuff. But
definitely, we should jump more
like
into it.
I
Let's
guess
jump back to
that was
Theta here.
yeah, that was a good point to talk about that stuff because on the way to Theta on the Zeppelin, these are the kind of questions that Simon is asking. It, you know, what does it mean to be human, or what? Why? Like, because he actually, he had some comments about the robot we just killed and talking about his personality and stuff, and Catherine being Catherine just was cold about it. It's like it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just data, which is they're like they're contrasting in character because one is empathetic and the other is indifferent, so to speak, with
Mhm.
the concept of life. But she does want to see the end of this to the end of this quest with the art project.
For sure. And even though Simon is apprehensive about some of these concepts, he is still going through with pushing forward the Arc mission.
Yep.
Um, so we do arrive at Theta, and Theta is a pretty beautiful place. I like Theta. They have a big, large door that we get to enter, and
Yep.
we get to find out a bit more about the Arc project here, because this is where it was created, or at least this
Yep.
is where Catherine worked. And actually, on one of the terminals here, as far as I'm aware, it's completely optional. I didn't see anything like required in there to progress the story forward. You find a brain scan of you, and this is where Catherine admits to you that, hey, yeah, you're not human. You're actually just a scan of yourself right now.
Well, we already knew that we weren't human before this because at the beginning, he's like, "You're a robot. Why does it matter?" And then she's like, "Well, you're a walking, talking diving suit. Like, who are you?" You know? And
Yeah.
then I don't
Sorry, I
think it
meant
really
like,
sunk in at that point. But on the Zeppelin, I think that's when, like, because he was asking those questions, he's like, "I'm not really human,
yep.
and I don't know how to feel about it,"
Yeah, I think
and
this is where
stuff
we
like that.
fully he starts to realize that he's not the original Simon, is what I meant, I
Yeah,
guess. He's not he's not just his brain transplanted into another body. He's literally a copy of his original self.
yeah,
And maybe not even the first copy, as we'll find out.
yeah. He's not the first copy, and well, he might not be the first copy, but he yeah, there. This was very interesting to me because, like, I guess it didn't really sink in that, you know, the brain scans are just data of like a snapshot of that consciousness until this point. Because
Yep.
like we get to hear audio logs of events happening for the rest of his life. Not really. They're about 3 months. He died 3 months later. But it was, completing the brain scan and it came out super well. He's super optimistic. And the second one was like he was trying to find alternate solutions, and then the third one he kind of came to the conclusion that he's going to die, and it was just really dark. And
This is one of the. So I accidentally deleted the audio logs. So you get an
oh,
option here to delete people's data,
yep.
which is basically deleting the scans of them. This is like, okay, yeah. I was starting to delete the scans of people, and I got down to mine, and I wanted to play the audio first, and I accidentally clicked delete first. And so I
Oh,
didn't even get to listen to these.
oh,
And I
okay.
was so
Well, I
upset.
basically summarized the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I did listen to those because that sounds like important data about him.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's how I first, like, it really sunk in that, like, wow, all these people, all these robots that we see around, they're actually like consciousness of dead people, you know.
Yeah,
And
at least their bodies are
I
dead.
don't know exactly how I feel about that. Meaning, it's just like it's like AI, but it's not really. I don't know. More questions this game asks. Is this ethical? Find out next time.
Yeah, so we find a cipher chip, and then we have to head to the basement to reset the power.
Reset the
And
router.
is that what it was?
Yeah, it was a fucking router, man. I was just like, why
I thought
can't
it
we
said
just
power.
unplug it and plug it back in from up here? Because down there sucks. I don't want to go
Fucking
down there.
Wi-Fi's in the basement.
Of course,
I
the Wi-Fi is in the basement.
As soon as I walked in, I seen how the layout of the room was. I'm like, I know exactly how this is gonna go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna turn on the power or reset the router, whatever it is. They're gonna approach me, and I'm gonna have to hide. And it actually was less scary this section than I expected it to be. I snuck around the left side and
yep,
completely went all the way past them. And then I clicked the power quickly and ran over into the corner, and then put my face in the corner, thinking maybe it was going to be the one guy.
yeah,
It was not. It was like more like an amnesia creature,
yeah,
and they heard me run over there and bonked me on the head. And every time the first time you get knocked out by a creature, they just leave you, and then you just wake up like dazed. And I think it's the second time you die. But
yeah.
I just got up dazed, and I pretty much just limped to the exit without running into him again.
Yeah, this one was a bit confusing to me because, well, I actually found out that this creature, he can't see you, but he can hear you, right? You got that part?
No,
No,
I
he can't see at all.
okay.
So, well, later on, I'll have to tell you about it, but there's some points where I was just standing there, like holding my breath, and he'd walk up and then wouldn't see me and then walk away. But yeah, anyways, so first time I did this, I went up to the router and I clicked the button and then pressed the or pulled down the lever. And I thought I
Yep.
did that, and I just ran out of there. I ran all the way back upstairs, and it still wasn't on. And then
Oh
so
no.
I went back down there and did it again, and I found out I had to wait there for like 30 seconds. And I'm like, oh my god, I was just so tense, just standing there waiting to fucking pull the thing again to reset the router. Ugh, but it was fine. It was all good.
Yeah, it worked out fine for me because I like pressed the initial button, and then by the time I got back up after you bonked me, it was ready for me to press again. So I
Oh,
just pressed it and snuck out.
nice. Yeah, it's
But
an
yeah,
interesting way about how this works when you get hit. Like you just get knocked out unconscious, and then you wake up, and then they're
you
like
get up again.
in some other area, but they're close by.
They're
It's
never
like
gonna
I
keep me
don't know
down.
if they're like attacking you or they just like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's I found it weird.
WoW isn't very good at dealing with pests.
No, I honestly thought that I was gonna get eaten or something, like in Alien Isolation or something. But first time it
Nope.
happened, I was just confused. Like, okay,
Like, oh, okay, you just whacked me.
all right, yeah, but
Yeah, so we head back upstairs and we get to load Brandon Wan's brain scan into the simulation. And this part is really fun. I like this. We get
yeah,
to go through an interrogation sequence, but we have to do it in the brain scan simulation of Brandon without letting him know he's in a brain scan.
yeah,
So you kind of have to change the environment and stuff and just make it work for him to get the information out of him so we can unlock the Dunbat.
yep. And so once we find out we have to do this, we have to go into his room and investigate some things to find out more about him to make him more, receptive, I guess. So he's super suspicious right now. He doesn't want to tell us anything. So we gotta find out a way to get him comfortable and give us the cipher code without making it sound like it's an interrogation or making him think that he's in a brain simulation. So I would think that this was going to be more trickier than it actually was. So we get to his room and we find out some things. He's in coercion with this girl named Alice, and we are able to get her voice onto some data through one of those black boxes on the wall, which took me a minute to figure out because I looked for everything in the room and I saw the black box thing there. I'm like, I'll just do this. And I just skipped over it because I didn't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
It was actually that one time it was essential to listen to it, but I didn't find that out until I went back and tried it.
Yeah, so we convinced Brandon to give us the cipher, and we get some moral choices, and then we get to go fire up the Dunbat finally,
Yep.
and then we get to go turn it on, and it's very anticlimactic, and then we have to reset the power, and of course,
Yeah.
and as we finally get the Dunbat on, it gains consciousness and freaks the fuck out and destroys itself,
Yep.
along
Yeah.
with shutting down power again to the facility.
He's pretty upset to be awoken from his deep slumber, and he's just confused, freaking out. And
Yeah, I I assumed that WoW put like Brandon in there or something like that. I couldn't tell whose voice it was.
I didn't know either.
Someone obviously who was very scared to be conscious again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's not an
Dunbat
option for us
falls.
now.
It's not an option, of course. I walking into that room to turn on the Dunbat. I'm like, this isn't gonna work. It never does.
Yeah,
But yeah, that I didn't even expect the suit to work. Something crazy was gonna happen there, but it did. But anyways, we get to we it doesn't work and all the power shuts off. So you have to climb into a vent to go into crawl and get into a laboratory. And
Yeah,
this
we're in
is where
the
we get
lab section.
the lab, and this is where we get to find out a little bit more about what Simon is actually made up of and a little more about how the arc works.
Yeah, we find out we're in one of Catherine's friends' body, and we're pretty much just a mind chip stuck in the stump of where her head was, and with a suit over that.
Yep.
We get to learn more about the ARC project and all that, and our next point is to find a key card so we can open up the elevator to get out of here. Which this is probably one of the most terrifying sections in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you're
It's
in the
turning like
hallways.
Five Nights at Freddy's shit.
Yeah. When you go into the next area, it's a bunch of hallways and there's also a bunch of rooms, you know, generic lab stuff. And
Yep.
there's like security rooms or whatever, but the elevator doesn't work. It's missing its controller chip. So we got to go find it. And meanwhile, it's one of those flesh wow infected humans that's just walking around, and you have to be super quiet because he can hear everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was so freaked out. I didn't even know if it was a thing, but like I didn't want to step on anything. So what I would do is like I'd quietly pick up an object and then move it over to the side and then quietly set it down
I was doing the
as
same thing.
yeah, because I'm pretty sure that if you step on stuff, it makes noises that attracts them.
Yeah,
So
I think you can kick bottles and stuff, and they'll make noise. And
yeah,
because
so I was
there's a storage room here when you first leave our safe room to start doing this area,
mhm.
and I was messing with some stuff, not realizing that there's a creature out there, and or not realizing he could hear so well. And I was knocking some stuff over, and he came running, and I hid behind a shelf, and he like walked right up to my face and turned around and walked out.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize he was blind. I probably should have at that point.
yeah. No, he's completely blind, and it's so tense when he walks right up to where you're at, and then just stands there for a minute, and then walks away.
He was like
Oh,
a it's like a fucking quiet place moment. Like he was, I was behind a shelf, like Emily Blunt was in Quiet Place, and he was just right on the other side of the shelf, just staring, and he just turns around and leaves. Oh, the scary sections in this game here. We have to get over to the security room on the other side, and this is where I said this area is like Five Nights at Freddy's because you can lock certain doors from this terminal in here. And so I basically locked the terminal of the security room, and this fucker just hovered outside for like 20 minutes.
yep.
He just kept pacing back and forth. It was like, leave, go
Yeah, as soon
away.
as you got the control chip, that's what he was doing, right? Yep. He did the
He
same
wouldn't
thing
leave
to
me
me.
alone.
And the worst part about it is that you have to climb back through that window. So there wasn't like, you know, the door on the other side. Like he was there and you're going to step on some stuff and make noise on your way out. So you had to actually wait for him to leave. And
Yeah,
the worst part about it is, when you get the control chip updated and stuff. I'm sorry, we were talking about getting the control chip, right?
yeah,
Or
yeah.
updating it.
You find it in that one room, and that allows us
Yeah,
to fucking open the elevator, pretty much.
right.
Which is also
Yeah.
stress inducing because you have to move two levers carefully, put the chip in, move the levers back, press the button, and then quickly jump in the elevator.
Oh, dude, he
And
almost climbed in the elevator with me.
all I heard was just noises behind me. And I was like, nope, 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 nope. And I was just slamming all the buttons and
Yeah,
running for it.
dude, I was almost a goner. He was inches away from the door as soon as it closed. Oh, that was tense.
It's a good section. I can't
Doesn't
remember
get
if I
any
texted
better.
you about this, but I think I woke up my whole hallway in this next section So of course the elevator breaks down. It has to by
Oh, of
law.
course. Yeah.
We start making our way through this maintenance area, and we start hearing the creature noises. And I shut the door because I'm like, okay, he's not going to follow me in here, or at least if he does, I'll hear the door behind me open, and it gives me time to run. So I shut the door behind me, and it's just a long hallway with a red light at the end. And I hear fucking noises, and it sounds like he's trying to break through the door behind me, crawling through something. So I'm like,
Oh my
nope,
god.
I'm gonna get ahead of this guy. I sprint down the hallway, and he sprints out of the corner of that end I was running to, and he just like sprints straight at me. I screamed so fucking loud.
Well, the thing is with this part of the level, there's multiple of them.
Oh,
They're
and
spread out all throughout the whole level.
I did find out that this see, he captures me here and bonks me, and this part was scripted, so
Yeah.
I couldn't have avoided it. But it still scared the fucking shit out of me because they thought he was coming from behind me. I basically sprinted right into his loving arms.
Yep.
We wake up surrounded by quite a bit of blood and have to work our way through the maintenance section then, which is also a pretty spooky part.
Oh, yeah, that was. This is the part I was talking about where there's like multiple
Yeah, it's like two
WoW
or three of
infected
them,
everywhere.
and they just
And
hover, man. They don't leave you alone.
oh man, it took me so long to get through this because like being as quiet as possible, and they're always in the way of where I need to go.
Yep.
Just waiting for them to slowly walk past so I can sneak past them because their routes are the same.
Yep.
I figured out, but it's just waiting for them to walk by is the hard part.
I was almost just intentionally making noise in one section and then quickly running to another so I could loop around them.
Yeah,
But yeah, they get in your way here. But this is a fun section. I liked it.
it is.
We arrive at a control room at the end after you get through this, and you get to pull the emergency flush lever.
Would you have to like go back and forth to turn it on?
Yeah,
Well, that was to turn
basically.
on the power so we can get
Yeah,
into the shuttle. Yeah.
yep. Yeah, you basically we flood this whole area because the door bursts behind us from water flowing in as we get to the end of this. Because you get to the end of the sewer area and we
Oh,
get
right.
to flood it, and we
Yeah,
get
I
to
got you.
go off to Omicron, which
Yep.
or Omnicron, which is the next area.
Omicron.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
so
we're
when we,
flushed back to the ocean again.
yeah. Yeah. This is like this is a cool part cuz you see a bunch of like sea mines everywhere
Yep.
on the way up to Omicron. I didn't expect something like this research facility to have so many sea mines, but they do. Anyways, you get to Omicron and it's under quarantine lockdown. So there's like a substation connected to it that we first have to go into, and there's a few puzzles in there. They're pretty simple, and we're able to get inside.
Yeah, there was tons of dead bodies missing their heads in here. It's like,
Yeah,
what the hell is going on?
I don't. I still. I completed the game. I have no idea why they're missing their heads.
I think it's something with WoW, maybe, but
Maybe.
I don't know. I didn't fully catch it. But either way, we need a suit that can survive at lower depths, so we can go to the next station to find the Arc Project, which is where the missile is to actually shoot Arc into the space. But we got to find a new body, and we get to go on a scavenger hunt for some parts here.
Yeah, this part was pretty chill actually.
Very chill. No chasing here.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's like 3 levels, and each level you have to find. There's like little puzzles. One was to get the gel, which
Yep.
you get to play around with the gel and put it on like a microchip, and then throw it on a rat, which revives it or resurrects it. That was creepy. Then there's the what's that other one?
The actual
There's
like
like
chip
2 other
itself.
parts. Huh?
The chip itself, the structure gel.
Yeah, the Cortex chip,
Yep.
and that was inside a bot. It had another cool puzzle, like rerouting stuff, classic rerouting puzzle. And then what was the other one? Oh, then the power pack, which was that part we were talking about with that creature thing standing there. We couldn't get its attention to. It was like
Yeah.
almost guarding it. I mean, developers knew it was guarding it, but there was no way to like deter it away without actually like catching its attention and having it chase after you, which I
Didn't like
I
that.
didn't like that. I really did not like that. I wish there was another way.
And then we have the blind dude, at least that's what I keep calling him, who is inside the glass cage in the middle of like the third floor. I think it's all three floors have a glass cage. And he was
Yeah.
spawning and like taunting us and kind of like freaking
Yeah.
out inside the glass cage. And there was just something about this where I'm like, I don't think he's an enemy. And I like started to realize here that maybe he's different. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
I didn't
picked up on
I,
that.
I didn't think he was an enemy either. I don't know if he was like something. Oh, because Catherine saw him too. But
He's
yeah,
just
I
something
didn't I
about
didn't
him. He
get like
didn't.
enemy vibes from him.
Yeah,
We see him later on too, but it at this part he's like telling us to stop the WoW.
yeah, yep. Start communicating with us and like, yeah, wants us to stop. WoW.
Yeah,
So we grab our last item and we get very narrowly chased into the room where Catherine was and lock the door in there. Or Catherine locks the door for us. Little
yeah,
chase sequence there at the end. Just fucking
yeah.
spooky.
I always I always expect them to. Every time you're out doing stuff and you gotta return back to wherever you were,
Yeah.
there's a chase scene. I expect it now. It's like, and I knew it was gonna happen, and it did happen. I'm like, I gotta remember how to get back to that
I just
place, or I'm dead.
I just always close the doors behind me. Like
Oh,
anywhere I'm going. Like I'm always closing the doors after me.
oh, yeah. I
I don't
never
trust it.
did that, but because I
Yeah.
mean, if I did that, because I thought of it as like if I had to run out of here, that would be kind of like a lot of like jumbling around to get open the door and close it behind me and shit, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but we get to transfer our mind to a new body. And then Simon gets confronted with yet another moral situation. He, even though Catherine repeatedly tells him throughout the game about how mind transferring works, he, even to the end of the game, doesn't really listen to her.
Right.
He, so we realize that our first body, where we were in her friend, is still there and is still alive. And then we're in our new body with our current consciousness. And so he's like, what the fuck? That's just me right there. Like that's just literally another me. Like what do I
Mm-hmm.
do about this? Do I just let him live and like keep walking around this place basically in hell forever? And you kind of have that dilemma of like, should I kill it? Like, turn it off or so yeah, you get a
I
choice here.
I personally shut it down because I couldn't. I would want. He wouldn't know anything different. Honestly, he was passed out.
Yeah, he would just wake up and Catherine would be gone and the power would be out.
Yeah, the power would be out
Still
and
stuck with these
be
monsters.
left wandering around with these monsters, and that would be
Fucking
the
scary to
definition of
wake up
hell
to.
to
Yeah.
me. So like I just shut him down. I think that was the best thing to
Yeah, I
do.
did too.
Because I was thinking in my perspective, if I were Simon, I would do this. Because like me personally, I would think whoever my other copy of myself would, you know,
Yeah,
me would
and
understand.
it's scary. She brings up a phrase. She says, "You won the coin flip," meaning that his consciousness is the one that's continuing on, or like the one that got to be in the right body that's continuing on.
Oh,
But really, I mean, they're technically both the exact same consciousness when he copied them over. because it was a fresh scan. So you
Yeah,
wouldn't even be able to tell the difference, like
you
if
wouldn't.
between the two if they were both awake. So I mean, did he win the coin flip? Like I think we just killed our original Simon. It's just this person has the new Simon we're playing as has the memories of what Simon went through there.
Yeah. And well, it's not even the
Simon
original
doesn't realize
Simon.
that.
I mean, who knows if like we were also like throughout the game Simon was questioning if there was two Simons running around or at least three, and
Yeah, I just meant
Catherine
like
said there's a possibility, but
yeah, our previous Simon.
yeah.
We don't know if we're him or not. And yeah, it's just a little spooky to think about that. And Simon convinces himself that he was still him, even though
Yeah.
he's in this new body. And it's like, no, no, that was you in that body. You're just now a copy of that copy.
Yeah. Which is the correct way of thinking about it, but like if you're flooded with emotions like that, it's I don't know.
Yeah, to him, he didn't even transition. Like he's still his consciousness.
Right.
Like not no break in flowage or anything like that.
To be fair, he wouldn't have known anything otherwise if it was automatically shut down and that Simon did die and he was in the new body. So it wouldn't have mattered anyways.
Yeah, yeah, just that
So
the moral implication of having to literally kill yourself.
yeah. So literally kill yourself.
But yeah, I like this choice. That had me thinking for a little bit. And
It
then we
did.
get to we take this machine called the Climber, which is basically a big shark cage, and we start to take that down into the abyss. Now that our suit can withstand lower pressure,
Do you know
and
what thalassophobia is?
I do not.
It's the fear of deep water. So there's some people. I don't know. I don't exactly know if it's me. I haven't like peered into deep water like that before. There's some people that will like freak out and panic. Like they have an intense fear of like looking into deep water. Something about it being so deep and then not knowing, not seeing the bottom is
Mm-hmm.
super scary to them. So if a person like that, if you're out there and you play this game, it will probably trigger that, especially going into the abyss like that, because you can't see anything around you for shit.
It's a little spooky, and they play it really well. You actually feel like you're delving deeper under an already deep ocean.
Yeah, and it's yeah. I thought that was pretty spooky because like looking in every direction, I couldn't see anything except the computer screen. Yeah, it would be terrifying for me just being in essentially nothing.
Yep.
So we're in this climber for a while, and meanwhile, Simon is also having another existential crisis. Talking about well, he wants to have a conversation with Catherine, but they had an argument after he was copied, and she's a bit upset right now, so she's not really responding or really cares to answer any of his questions because I don't think she really thinks about those questions other than scientifically. But in the end, his main point was like he was trying to justify being a robot. So so he thought that he was in a place that he didn't belong, and he back when he was in Toronto, like he felt like he was in a place where he belonged. So he actually had a reason to live and you know things to fight for and stuff. But like if you're in a place where you don't belong and being in a such a desolate situation as this, what keeps your drive? What's the where's the self-preservation going on? Like if there's no other humans left and you're just a robot just like everybody else, you know. I don't know. It's dark. It's a dark conversation, but halfway down there, the climber stops, and we have to go up there and We have to go up on top of it and fix the batteries, or I don't know, reset the switch, kind of power breaker. That was then when I was like, I was peering into the abyss, and it kind of freaked me out. I don't know, just the whole thought of it. Because like, could you imagine being in an abyss? I couldn't. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I will never be in that situation, so I don't have to worry about it.
I suppose. So, I mean, after we get it started again, we're going down. There's a WoW infected person. I don't know if he was WoW infected, but like he was like missing his jaw. Well, I don't honestly don't know if he was like a part of the WoW or what, but like I didn't see any like
It was
nodules
like,
over him.
yeah, I assumed it was like rebelling from it or something, and
Yeah, but he was like this dude that had no jaw, and like his face was like melted off. He was pretty scary looking. Comes in and says something about making preparations. He's like, "Oh, good, you're on your way. I'll make preparations." And then he disappears. It was fucking weird. Um,
yeah, I really like this. As we land the climber here, we get to have a nice underwater walk to Tau, and we get a lot of stuff to think about. So it's a good way for us to clear our head. There's a very gross spider cave on the way that I was fucking like cringing through the whole time.
oh yeah,
And then we like follow these lights all the way to Tau, and the rule is like if it's blue, keep going. If it's red, you're facing the wrong way. And
yep.
that was one of those things that I'd mentioned earlier in the episode that they could have done that more in the earlier areas. I wish they would have done that, something like that. But
They did do something like that. There was lights on the way to each station. That if you followed them, you wouldn't get lost.
I don't think they were color coded though, and they were
They
still
weren't
just.
color coded, but if there were lights anyways, I don't
I
know.
disagree.
I just
I think there
assumed
was a
all the
lot of
lights.
areas without lights.
Okay, I suppose. But I mean, every time I was on the ocean floor, I usually saw some lights that I could follow.
we
Maybe maybe it's just more intuitive to me. I don't know.
the light man. We I don't know if you got tricked by this, but I did. One of these, it looks like another one of the lampposts, and you start to walk right up to it, and it's a fucking anglerfish.
Yeah,
It scared the shit out of me. It's
that
like,
yeah
nope, that's not a light. Not
yeah
the light I want.
that scared the shit out of me. I ran back into the cave, and I was like running around trying to get back there, and I was like, this anglerfish is somewhere around here. Because like, I walked towards the light, and then all of a sudden I saw a fucking anglerfish face. Oh my god, it was terrifying. It was coming right towards me.
Yeah,
That
this
was
is,
intentional too. The developers knew that. They're like, okay, we got them hooked on the whole concept of following lights. Let's let them follow this.
yeah, let's fuck with them a bit. Break their
Yeah,
sense of trust in the game.
yeah, that
They
was great though. I love that.
even though I ribbed on the game for being really dark, this is one of those chapters that benefits really well from just being pitch black and only relying on like
Yeah,
the next light in front of you. I like it here.
yeah. For some reason, there's wind. I don't know if that's currents or something. Is there like current at the bottom of the ocean? Do you know?
Yeah, there's underwater currents.
Is it as strong as that? Does it look like that?
I I don't know. I would assume they're
I
from
don't.
like either underwater caves or like tectonic plates moving, something like that.
Yeah,
Who knows the science behind it? But
yeah,
but we do get to Tau, and this is kind of, well, not really a safe area, not yet. We we find the Ark here, and we also find the last living human on Earth,
yeah. And
and
she's
yeah,
not doing too well,
no, she's
looking
on life support.
very sickly.
Yeah.
And yeah, she like we talked to her for a little bit, find out a little bit about her, I guess, and she asks us to kill her, which would be
Indeed.
disabling her life support. And after a bit of resistance of talking to her, it seemed like, a fair request. I mean, it's like, it's one of those questions again, is like, is it really worth it to sit here and, die anyways, or just have it a little sooner while you're talking to another human,
Yeah, or somewhat of a human.
somewhat of a human, a nicer being, I guess.
This section was really sad. Like, I turned off her power for her, and she just asks you to stay with her. And it's like 5 minutes long of
Yeah,
just you talking to her as she's slowly, like, passing away. It is really sad.
it is very sad.
She's just talking to you about just general stuff. And
Yeah,
yeah.
she's talking about what it was like back at home, talking about, her happy place and stuff. And it's just, I never, I hope I never have to witness somebody dying in real life. Cause like, I don't know how I would handle that. Cause like, I was trying to put myself in that situation right here. And, I don't know, like, it's such it's a graceful moment, but it's also one of those things is like, you know, you don't know what happens after you die. Nobody does. And it's like, they're moving on. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and Simon's just kind of quietly staring at her the whole time.
Yeah, it's just fulfilled her requests though. Asked us to kill her and then asked us to stay, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
arc is right behind us, or right behind her on the table.
Yep.
So we gotta take that and then put
Yeah,
it
fuck that
on.
bitch. Let's go.
Yeah,
Put it on the little elevator behind her.
yeah. Put it behind us. We're just we came here, we got what we needed, and we got put it onto the cargo thing and go back down to the the it goes down to the cargo hold. There's like an elevator there. But before,
Yeah.
actually, you skip the part where you encounter that WoW infected person on the way up to the infirmary.
Yes. Just because I don't want to relive that again.
That was so scary. Were you standing right in front of that door as
I
it opened,
was. I
and
was
he
like,
was
this one's
standing
opening
there?
really slowly. And then I seen why it opened slowly when it opened.
Oh my god, man, that was
I
so fucking scary.
I booked it, and not enough doors could slow that man down to catch me.
No, he was so fast. He was faster and seemingly like more perceptive than like all the other ones.
Yep.
So he was a little tough to get around.
Yeah. On my
That's
second try
where,
here, this is where I died.
yeah, I could see that. I didn't die at this part, but I was damn close.
My second try, I hit around the corner and then pressed the button and like ran around the corner and waited.
Yeah,
Wait for him to leave and then snuck by him.
man, I hated that part. Um, anyways, it's like that'll be something that you guys will have to discover.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
we would get the. Sorry, you go ahead.
we bring Tao, not Tao. We're in Tao. We bring down the Ark into the cargo hold and send it off on a zip line, and then we get to walk the ocean floor again. And this is where we run into that what I think was a WoW infected creature, but I don't really know because it asks us to kill WoW. It kind of wants us to, I guess, put everyone out of their misery. So
Yeah, that's where that guy we were encountering before. Wait a minute. Are you talking about when you load up the cargo thing and watching the arc go? Then that's when he's talking to
yeah,
you. Yeah.
as we're near the end of where the arc passes by us and goes over that debris and stuff, and then the figure starts asking us to kill WoW.
Yeah. So this was a little weird. Apparently, the WoW's poison was in our blood, or or in our, I don't know. The whole ideas of it was kind of far fetched to me because, like, first of all, we transferred bodies, and yeah, so we transferred bodies, so we're not in the same body anymore. We are conscious in a robot body, half organic, half robotic. So what is in within us is poison to the wow, which is strange to me because, like, we are half organic, half robot. We already switched bodies, and just because, like, our cortex chip is inside a certain or consciousness is inside a certain body, that makes us, I don't know. It's just main character stuff that I didn't understand.
Yeah, just main character bullshit. Something about our code. I don't know.
Yeah, something about it. But so we crawl through the caves and we approach this. It's called the heart. It's the heart of the wow.
Yep.
It's big, it's scary, and it's got one of those things that we haven't mentioned up in this point for some reason, where we stick our hand in like a little anus thing and
Oh
it gives
yeah,
us
those
health.
things. They
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't really care for these in the game. They were
I
okay.
didn't either.
I used it maybe once or twice for its actual purpose.
Yeah. Other than that, I avoided them. There was one time I didn't use it, or I didn't use it for its purpose, but just to do it, see if I could advance any further or something.
Yeah, I
Because
used
I
every
did
single
it.
one I seen. I
Yeah.
just I don't know. I thought maybe there was a purpose to them other than
I don't
healing
know if it was
yourself.
like the wrong time at the wrong place, but as soon as I did it, I turned around and there was one of that WoW infected guys just standing there, and he saw me do it. I don't know, like, he just happened to be there, I guess, because I was convinced after that using that thing like attracts them,
Hmm.
but I could be wrong.
Yeah, so we put the heart out of commission here. It was pretty easy, and
Yep.
then
Well, he rips off our hand. Also,
we didn't need it anyways.
no, we don't.
We jump out of here as the whole place is starting to collapse, as one does when you destroy a boss.
Yeah,
And then we start getting attacked by the fish when we get out of here.
it
And
was a, what is that thing? I couldn't I couldn't even see what that was. This is the one time I died. It was at this part because, like, he comes up and picks you up and
just drops you
kills you,
somewhere
just
else.
kills you. And, like,
Oh, he killed
I
you?
didn't know how to avoid him at first until I started, like, running from point to point and then just waiting until he went by and then, like, sneaking past or whatever. But
Yeah, I didn't have a trouble with this guy. He picked me up and dropped me the first time, and then I didn't. I just kept running the whole time.
oh, okay,
But yeah, the WoW infected creature that was on our side betrayed us immediately after we broke the heart, and then WoW in its final moments killed it. So
yeah. So that was weird. I don't think it really affected much, but that was a thing. And then
yeah, that was a thing. That's a way to say it. Yeah.
yeah, that was the thing. And then we that was when we ran through that part with the big wow thing. And
Yeah,
then
make our way up to the big space shooting gun.
yeah, what was it called? I don't know what it was called. I think it was called Phi,
I called it the big space shooting gun. Yeah, I think
big
the station
spaceship
is called
gun.
Phi.
Yeah. So we're not in Phi for long because pretty much all we got to do is go grab the arc, load it onto the bullet, and then strap ourselves into a seat to launch it.
Yeah, and one of the notes I want to make here is the ladder animations. Now that we have one arm, were pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
The missing arm made for cool ladder animations.
Yeah, he was a bit slower and like had to hold himself on, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's pretty tense final moments. We're uploading our consciousness to the arc as the arc is taking off because we have to do it simultaneously for some reason.
Yeah.
The Arc launches just as our upload hits complete, and our upload gets made onto the Arc. Simon gets really happy,
And
and
is
then
soon
he's not.
disappointed because he forgot that it's just copies. And
Yeah,
he
he
lost
lost
the
the
coin
coin
flip.
flip. Yep.
So if 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 I'm correct, the coin flipped is the idea of like there's a 50-50 chance that you are going to be fully transferred or you're just going to be copied and you're still going to be the same, right? But you're
For
copied anyways, but you're going to be like your consciousness transfers or something.
the way I took it is he is never going to leave the body he was in. It's going to be a copy of himself into a new body.
Yeah.
So Simon never had a chance to leave this body. At least this iteration of Simon. We just the last time we transferred bodies, that Simon died. So as a game perspective, we only had one Simon to follow at that point. And at this point, we're stuck down on Phi with our whatever number Simon. Catherine and him start to argue because Simon still doesn't understand. He feels cheated.
Yeah.
And this whole section is really sad. They're
It
both yelling
is.
at each other, and she's just calmly explaining like how it works, and then of course they both turns into a yelling match, and the pressure of the whole thing in the launch cracks her screen and kills her, and then Simon's just alone.
Then all the power goes out.
Yep. And then
Then
the
it goes
credits
dark
roll.
at the bottom of the abyss.
And I was like, oh, is that really how they're gonna end the game? That is dark as fuck.
It is very dark.
And then after quite a few minutes of credits and living with that thought, you wake back up in Simon's body, but the other version of Simon, the one that made it onto the Ark, the one that was
Yeah.
copied up there, and it's a beautiful fantasy land.
Yeah. It is very pleasant.
It's a whole different game almost.
Huge contrast from the rest of the game, and I was very much relieved. Not relieved that the other Simon is still down there, but
That
I
one
guess it
made
didn't
it
really
out.
make a difference. I don't know.
I mean, there was always going to be one left behind.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, and we find Catherine, and then it pans out of the Ark to show us the little satellite that we're on,
Yep.
orbiting the Earth. And then for some reason that I didn't figure out, it jumps out of Earth's trajectory and just goes into deep space.
Yeah,
And that's the end of Soma.
that's the end of Soma. So it kind of restructured my whole idea of transferring of consciousness. Like Chappie seemed like child's play compared to this.
Yeah, it doesn't delve into it.
Yeah, it's actually it is thought provoking and it's very philosophical, but I don't know. I can't really think of anything we haven't covered already that that we got to talk about. If you got something,
Yeah, I love this game. I loved it for the horror elements, despite the few issues I did have with it. And this game at the end just left me with a lot more thoughts than I thought I would be left with from a horror game.
right? Yeah, exactly.
It definitely has you thinking about consciousness and what we are and like what makes us us. It's
Yeah,
very
it
interesting.
it is very interesting, and there is a lot of other little stories throughout this game that kind of point to the opinions of other people during the Arc project because you can read audio logs and look at scenes of things happening. I mean, there's people that didn't believe in it, so they would just kill themselves, which is also sad.
No, they did believe in it.
They did believe in it. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's the opposite. They believed so much in the project that they were all killing themselves because they believed that their better self was already uploaded.
Oh,
So they wanted to be only existing in the Ark.
wow. That's okay.
And
That's
it's really interesting reading the audio logs, and you can, and some of the computer entries. You start to see more and more people killing themselves near the end of the project
yeah.
before it got cut off. And it's like, I think the very last one was he killed himself right in the chair, like immediately after the scan.
Holy shit.
So it's, yeah,
That's insane.
interesting. And there's so much small stuff in this game too. Like Catherine doesn't even care that her physical body died, and there's so many people that just believed so much in the cause that this was our future that they were like, yeah, this physical body just isn't worth holding on anymore, and so they would just off themselves.
That's
And
insane.
there's so much, like, I don't want to like spoil it. I think you guys definitely should play the game and find some of these mini vignettes and stuff like that. But you'll find like the one room, if you go through all those rooms when we were looking for Brandon Wan's room, where it's just a razor blade on a bed and just blood everywhere and stuff like that. And you can go through like the logs and see like who died after the scans and stuff like that. And then pretty much everyone who didn't kill themselves though died to WoW later.
Yeah. Which is a grim circumstance.
Well, died
Yeah,
per
it's
se.
it's very dark. And yeah, I think it's this game is an experience I hope I never experience again, but I'm glad I had the experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Even if I did experience it again, it won't be nearly as terrifying as the first time playing it. So if you if you play it, just pretty much just expect it to be one and done. So
overall, it's a game I highly recommend to any horror lovers or people just interested in the sci-fi genre that can put themselves through the horror for a bit just for the good story.
yeah,
It's it's worth a play. It's a quick game. It's in Game Pass and it's pretty cheap even outside of Game Pass. And you're supporting a really good developer. So
absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think you guys should watch it, play it. It's not. It's definitely not like a walking sim. I definitely wasn't really bored at all throughout this playthrough. There was frustration at some points, getting lost and trying to figure out what to do, but never really bored. I think the whole atmosphere and everything keeps you entertained, even if you're not really doing anything like super intense or crazy.
yeah,
That's for me, anyways.
yeah, I'd agree with that.
But I think that's all I got for Soma. What do you got?
Yeah, that is all for this philosophical game that you dropped me into with no warning.
I did. I apologize. I honestly didn't know what I was in for either.
So yeah, next month for May's game, sorry, not May, April, we will be doing a much less philosophical game. We will just be shooting Nazis for about 6-7 hours in Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Can't wait to kill some Nazis.
Yeah. So you playing any fun games other than Soma lately?
I've been playing Satisfactory lately, as
Oh
I
yeah.
told you before, and it's a lot of fun. It's made by Coffee Stain Studios, which they kind of have some other good games that are out too, but they're pretty good developers, and this game is actually in early access right now. So they're making huge updates to it all the time, and it's already so huge that I don't know how you know what the full release of the game is going to look like, but I'm really excited. What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, that one sounds like fun. Yeah, mostly just Soma.
Yeah.
I've been back and forth with Mass Effect again, finishing up the trilogy for the second time. But other than that, just mainly playing some Soma.
That's good. Some good Soma.
Indeed. So if you guys want to tell us what games you're playing or what you think of Soma and its narratives, we do have Discord, we have an Instagram, and we have a Gmail. if you would like to get a hold of us, reach out through those in the description. You can join the Popcorn Club on Discord by using the invite link in the description and come suggest movies there or just discuss your favorite stuff about episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're usually hanging out in that server too, so we'll be able to talk to you, see your opinions, or if you want to. I mean, I'm always down to talk to our listeners, but that's up to you.
Yeah, Eric's a little nicer about it, but I'm actually mandating you. You have to join and talk to
Exactly.
us.
Join us.
Join the collective. But yeah, so if you like the episode and if you like the podcast as a whole, give it a rating on Spotify, 1 to 5 stars. Or if you are on Apple Podcasts, give that sucker a review. It helps us out, helps us get a little more recognized so we get more people to talk to about these games. Yeah, that's all I have.
That's all I got too.
See ya.
Later.